Welcome to part 5 of what, at least for the moment, will be the final video in our Rust gardening series. This one is about Obscura, and you're about to see me do some crazy hacks because I'm on a build server where I can do things like manipulate genes and all that. This is Builder's Sanctuary. I use them for a lot of stuff. And for this experiment, I'm trying to teach you guys something. I don't need to run 5,000 plants. I'm just going to show you how this works. Let me grab a couple of these clones. And notice here how they came in 2 stacks, one for each thing of clones. That Rust, I don't know. I probably already bitched about this in a different video. I also probably talked about this part in a bit different video. I'm going to use these as my recipient seeds. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plant 2 of them, which will give us 4 50-50 experiments. And the 50-50, I know we talked about this already, but what we didn't talk about was the double 50-50 in the kind of detail that it really does need to be gone over. This, at least very similar to this, happened to me during a wipe, and I must have run the experiment 10 times and still wasn't getting a result. And it was a weird result, the one that I was getting. So this is important to understand because, man, will this be a showstopper if you don't know it exists. So typically, when I'm using these full green clones, I'm using 1 genetic plant, 2 copies of it, to try and reinforce the good genes you want. And then you need 2 copies of the one you want to overwrite. So we'd need a G in slot 4 if we wanted a 4G2Y plant. Well, over here, we have a G in slot 4. Except it's also got an H in slot 5. And this one's got a Y in 5. So we've set up a double 50-50. Instead of 1 50-50, we're getting two 50-50 chances here. So let's go ahead and plant these. Now, in my experience, yeah, let's go ahead and do that one more time so this goes right. In my experience, I've had some trouble with only 1 donor, but I'm gonna go ahead and run it here. And then on this one, I'm gonna run 2 donors of each. See, that's got 1, there we go. All right, so this one has 2 of each donor, and the other one only has 1 of each. But here's your dilemma, and here's the problem with the way these genetics play out. So, over here, slot 5 is an H, over here, slot 4 is an H. So when your recipient plants, the ones that are going to be crossbreeding into the ones you're hoping to get, they're going to look at these genes when they start crossbreed, and they're going to take from this mix, and they're going to get to this plant when they get to slot 4, because the first 3 slots are all G's on all of the donors, so that's out of the equation. That's going to be a G. Over here, though, we have an H in 4 and a G in 4. So because that's the same mix for all of this, you would think it would be just a coin flip. Do I go H? Do I go G? But it's a die roll. And I say it's a die roll. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 donors for 1 recipient. So this recipient rolls a 4-sided die, and let's say it comes up with a 3. Well, 1, 2, 3, that means that slot 4 is going to be an H. Then it moves to slot 5. And it's like, wait, there's another 50-50. So you would assume that this clone or this recipient would then roll another 4-sided die and come up with a 1, 2, 3, or 4. And you'd be wrong. It already rolled the die, and the die came up 3. It doesn't roll another die. So in this instance where we have a double 50-50 and the genetics are set up in such a way that they contradict each other, you will never be able to turn this into the genes you want using these 2 plants as your donors. You'd think you would be able to, and like I said, you would just be wrong about that. So let's see, did these catch up? They did. All right, I'm going to wait on those. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and do this experiment, and the other ones we can wait on. All right. Oh, look, these crossbred. And this one picked up a single Y, and this one picked up a single Y. So this is what I was getting at when I talked about this. For some reason, only using 2 donors leads to, wait, we got HY, we got YY. Well, that explains it, I guess, actually. It's, this one kept its primary genes because the 50-50 would have been a, wait, no, it wouldn't have. There was no overriding gene, so it kept its G. That's what happened. So this is why there's a Y in slot 5 and H in slot 5. Yeah, a Y and an H, but the plant had a G. Since there isn't 2 copies, there's no dominant gene, it simply kept its own. So that's the experiment problem I was having when I was doing this. Let's get these out of here, since we are waiting for that one to go anyway. And we can go ahead and run this again if we want. Wait, what the heck is going on here? Oh, that's what's going on. So, gonna go ahead and plant our recipients again, and this time let's plant for proper experiment. And sapling 67. Yeah, we're gonna have to hold off on that. So here we have the results of the first of our 50-50s, and in this case, they both came up exact copies of this one. Am I right about that? 4Gs HY. 4Gs HY. Yep. So they both flipped over to one of our ones that we're trying to change. So like I said, you're going to run into this, period. This is unfixable in this configuration. But we can fix it. Slacking again. Wait, why is that seed in these seedlings? Whatever. I'm going to start this one over. This time I'm going to do it the right way to get the experiment going where we need it to. Those are the different ones. There's our donor or our recipient. So planting our recipients, and then we wait until they grow a bit. We don't have to wait that long. And then we're going to go ahead and plant our same donors, 2 attached to each. But now let's fix this mess. Oh, look at this hot mess of a plant. You would normally never even keep this gene. I'm using it as an example on sometimes why you might sometimes keep a terrible plant, because this is the cure. That right there will fix this. Boom. Crossbreed fixed. Crossbreed fixed. We forced the second double 50-50. We forced the second one into having more Ys than H's. We removed the 50-50 from the equation. So now there's only one 50-50, and in this case, both of them came up. So you might run into this. Like I said, it's obscure. It's not common, and if you do, hopefully you'll remember this part of the video and go, oh yeah, that's right. So what other Obscura do we need to know about gardening? So the rest of this is, start with the water. So you're also going to need water catchers or a source of fresh water. Now, lakes work, rivers work, swamps work, except Bandit Camp. And I guess that about covers fresh water. There's those water pump things you can find on the map, but they're pretty terrible. You're going to need some planters, a hose tool, ideally water jugs. The jerry cans are the best. Soda bags are second best. Dear Lord, if you have to. And then there's this thing. It holds water, and it holds 2,000 mils, which this only holds 500. This holds 5,000. The problem with the water jug is you actually have to have it in your hotbar and carrying it around. And then you can dump it out by right-clicking. If you put it down, if you scroll off of it, if you put it in a box, it dumps itself on the ground. So, no. Optional, let's go ahead and throw the Boda bag while we're at it, is a water barrel. So let's go ahead and show you how all these work together. So one thing when you're placing large planters is you notice some snapping. That's a fairly recent addition as of this video, where it allows you to get these pretty well centered on a square. I like this addition, works well for me. Small planter, you can kind of stuff them in anywhere you want. And in this case, I'm getting rid of it. I'm going to show you some behavior here in a minute. Your water catchers, ideally you need somewhere between 4 and 6. It kind of depends. 1 is fine, but you're going to be pretty slow. Now, you can place them pretty close together, and you can place 4 of them on a single square. Keep this next part in mind, though. You need to have access to the water ins and the water outs, because what we're going to do is we're going to go from this one's water out over here to this one's water in to this one's water out to, yeah, you get the idea already. So this works without power. Now all 4 of these, well, 3 of them are feeding into the first one. And that means this one will fill up, then this one will fill up, and so on. Now, this works fine, but there is an advantage to the water barrel. If you put the water barrel at least a half step down from your water catchers, you do not need any electricity to add it to the stack. And a good reason for this all by itself is this holds 20,000 mils, these each hold 10. If this one fills up, it stops catching water, which reduces the amount of water you're gaining. So if you just attach one water barrel, you're now in a position where that thing's going to hold 20,000 mils before this one even starts to fill up. It radically increases your capacity. These have to be exposed to the atmosphere, no roof over them. This can be inside your base. And it's kind of big. You can put a box, small box under it, maybe even 2, I'm not sure. Thing's pretty big under there. So that's a great way of getting your water, but again, this has to be a half step down if you want the power-free, no electricity, no water pump required water flow. You can put it way below them, it doesn't have to be half step. So let's see, I think that's all the Obscura here. It's not a whole lot, but the water barrels sometimes throw people off. And again, notice how simple this is. You can do this without electricity. And then there's these things. We want to fill them with water. So one thing you can do, if you only want this one to get some water, and you notice it's filling up, it's because it's raining and it's exposed to the atmosphere. If it's in your base, it won't fill up with rain. But if I stand way back here and I pour, all 5,000 mils went into this container. If I stand over, let's go to the other side. If I stand over here, the 5,000 mils will split evenly between the 2. Man, how am I supposed to fix this? Doesn't matter. 25, 25, 5, and 0. If I put it right in the middle, it splits between all 3 evenly, or all 4 evenly. So when you're filling these up with a jug instead of a sprinkler system, it's a good way to go. It's a good thing to know, I should say, because now you can manage your water levels really precisely if you need to for some reason. Like you might plant in this one, and it's a lot lower than the rest. So if I'm only going to plant here, I may as well just, or if this was the only one that's low, I may as well only fill this. And another aspect is you don't need all 5Ks. So if I hold left click, it'll just keep dumping water back into the system, but that's not what you normally do. What you normally do is you take out water. And I can't remember for sure. I think it's 2,000 is the minimum number of mils you need in the jug before you can dump it. Weirdly, you can't dump it out if it doesn't have enough water in it. And again, that's of this video. It's a weird mechanic. I don't know why they would do it, but in this case, it's going to suit our purposes because these ones are bad. Screw it. Let's just give these 2 a little bit extra. All right, so we now have some water in our planters. We have a water catcher system going. We're collecting rainwater. You're building inside your base, which brings me to the next video. Whoop, that's the wrong box. Next part. You have to have this to be able to farm inside your base, or another power source. A generator if you're a lunatic, a windmill. Those are basically it. Weirdly, the battery's optional, and the heater is definitely optional. If you're in the snow, it's not optional anymore. If you're in the desert, it gets complicated. You actually want an automated circuit to turn them off at night. So I'm going to do one of my favorite things in the world, but we're not going to actually use that just yet. Because we're going to get... Oh yeah, let's go back to this part first. So the lights. If you put a light right in the middle of all four, it'll light up all four, even the ones way back here in the corners. And even though it looks visually like it's dark, this plant should still register that it's getting light. So you only need one light for 4 planters, large planters even. And the solar panel is the part where, like I said, it's going to get strange. I suppose I should finish the last part of this. Solar panel, ceiling light. Ceiling light turns off at night, turns back on in the morning. It'll just slow down the process. So if you don't even have a battery, it's okay, but the battery means the lights don't turn off at night. Back to that stupid solar panel. Well, first, where are we on the map? I know, what are you asking that for? That's silly. The sun is obviously to the north. Rust Island is south of the equator, somewhere in the Atlantic. Yeah, it should be that you always point all of your solar panels to the north. Unfortunately, Rust doesn't actually work that way. Wow, this is a big map. Weirdly, the sun is somewhere roughly between 3/4 and 2/3 of the way across the map. So if you're planting solar panels up at the north end, you have to point them south. If you're planting them on the bottom half of the map, you put them north. If you're somewhere in this hell zone of solar panel confusion, you got to do an experiment. Basically, what you would do is you put one north. Oops, I forgot about that. And one south. And then what you would simply do is look at your output. This one's outputting 20. This one's outputting nothing. So it would be more like 20 and 15 or something like that. So you can thank a couple YouTubers for this. In particular, Rabbit, who appears to be the one who really tracked this down, and Tamara77, who came up with a really decent guide, did a lot of work. They both put in excellent work figuring this out. So yeah, those are videos you should check out. It's from Rabbit or Tamara77. They both have other good stuff. But basically, you only need the one solar panel, and I'm not going to run this wiring particularly pretty because I don't really care. So like I said, if you don't have a battery, just wire this directly to the light. If you have a battery, go ahead and wire it to the power in, which will start charging. And then this can be a little bit of a problem when you're doing this. The wall frames get janky. I'm standing on a planter box, and Rust hates electrical wiring. Happily, they removed one of the bits of Obscura I was going to have to show you guys. It used to be that it was impossible to make an electrical connection if you were standing on a sleeping bag or a bed or a towel. They fixed that, at least with towels. I didn't try the others. So now, the solar panel is the Obscura I was getting at here. That's, again, mind-bogglingly silly to have to deal with. The battery is a tiny bit of Obscura, water filling, that thing. All right, yeah, that's it. We're done with the Obscura. Good luck, guys. Enjoy your life as your newfound life as a farmer.